the whole HDBaseT story, like 3 years ago. I was walking here at CEDIA, actually it was in Denver, just carrying some PowerPoint slides, trying to explain and convince some of the manufacturers that this is doable. And they said, yeah, it's very nice, but we don't believe it's doable. And it was a kind of a long process convincing them till they actually had the chance to test the product by themselves. And then they said, oh, we still remember you walking around trying to sell us a story. So I'm glad that it's becoming a reality, and this is one of the reasons why we have a seminar today, in order to continue and promote the concept and educate the market. So we will see more and more HDBaseT stuff in the market. Just to check, are you installers, integrators, press? What kind of audience do I have today?
Installers.
Installer.
Integrators.
Okay, good. Just as a general remark, the reason for all the HDBaseT stuff is in order to help you guys. Eventually it should help also us, but when we designed the concept, it was based on feedbacks that we got from the industry, from a real pain. Okay? As we see it, HDBaseT answers a real need. And there is a real need for a solution that actually works. Okay? You don't need more than that. You need a solution that works. And most of the people that we are meeting with, that's what they say. Oh, it works. Okay? Which is a good sign for us. So it's very important for us to have a direct relationship with you guys to see whether we can do even better. Okay? We are working on the next generation. I'll give you some more information later on. But the solution is for you. It's for you. It should simplify the way that you are dealing with your installation. It should solve some of the problems that you are dealing with today, not all of the problems. That's, otherwise we will run out of business. But it's really for you. Okay? And I'll try to walk you through, to give you a kind of a background, what HDBaseT is all about, what's the status, what you can expect, what are the target applications that we are aiming for. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to interrupt. The seminar is for you. Okay? Just to present myself, my name is Micha Risling. I'm the HDBaseT marketing chair and also the vice president of marketing and business development of Valens. Valens Semiconductor is an Israeli company. We are the company behind the technology. We design it, invent that, and we are now the sole provider of the semiconductor devices that are being used by all the manufacturers who are selling HDBaseT stuff. So we don't sell finished goods. Okay, this is very important. So what is HDBaseT? In order to understand what is HDBaseT, I would like to introduce you and something that we call the 5-play. Okay? 5-play are basically 5 elements that are being carried or sent over a 100-meter long LAN cable. And that's basically what HDBaseT is all about. Provides the ability to drive the 5-play over any standard 100-meter long LAN cable, Cat5e, Cat6, Cat7, including the RJ45. Right? The 5 elements are video and audio. These are the first 2, who are HDMI 1.4 equivalent. Which means that whatever you can do with HDMI 1.4, whatever kind of format that you can drive over HDMI 1.4, you can do over HDBaseT, including 1080p 60 Hz, 48 per pixel, including 2K, 4K, including all the audio formats, all of them. Okay? Starting with 480p. Okay, so we cover the full spec of HDMI. Okay? So these are the first 2 elements. When it comes to the video, we support uncompressed, exactly like HDMI, which means that whatever gets in, gets out bitwise. Okay? And we will show you a short demonstration
using quantum data equipment that basically verify that. Okay? The reason why uncompressed is so important is that it also helped us to be approved by your favorite organization in the market called DCP LLC. I know how much you like them. But as you can understand, without that, there was no way that we could have come up with a new technology. So this technology is HDCP approved. Okay? The next element is Ethernet. Okay? You can drive over the same cable at the same time 100 base T Ethernet, standard Ethernet. Okay? Then we have the power over HDBaseT, or the POH, that we announced yesterday. Yesterday, we announced the availability of the specification that actually defines the power over HDBaseT. It enables you to drive up to 100 watts over the same cable at the same time with all the other elements. Okay? And I'll show you some example of what you can do with that, although I believe that you have some ideas by yourself. And we also can drive controls. When I'm saying controls, I mean infrared, RS-232, and USB. Now, in order to understand what it means that theoretically, you can replace a bulk of cables like that. Imagine that this one goes now 100 meters with something like that. This is a standard LAN cable. This is the stuff that we are working with. Okay, we can use any LAN cable, starting for LAN cables that you are familiar with, but this is also an example of a LAN cable. Okay, so you can go and get HDMI, video and audio, Ethernet, power, and controls by using this cable and a standard RJ45 connector. That's it. Okay? That's what we do. Very easy. Very easy to understand, not easy to implement. But that's the magic. Okay? Now, if you already have an LAN cable installed, normally used for Ethernet, you can use it for this stuff. Okay? So there are no requirements when it comes to the cable and the connector. As long as the minimum is Cat5e, we are ready to go. Okay? And it works. So now that you understand what are the capabilities of HDBaseT, you can understand that we would like to use it in order to connect between devices, okay? Consumer electronic devices, or any other device that has to do with video. And I'll show you more examples. But once again, in order to clarify, this cable carries all of them at the same time. And the target of HDBaseT is eventually to provide an all-in-one connectivity, including the power. Normally, when you say all-in-one connectivity, you basically mean the video or the controls. In our case, also includes the power. Okay? So all the devices that you see here and others can use HDBaseT. They can have a single RJ45 connector. That's it. Not more than that. For instance, if you have a TV, 50-inch TV or whatever, that works with less than 100 watts, this TV can now be a single wire TV. Only RJ45 connected to a source device. This device will drive the power, the HDMI video and audio, Ethernet, and controls. That's what you have. Okay? Same goes for all the other stuff. So this is a great solution for residential installation, commercial installation, for connection between consumer electronic devices, no matter what they are. Anything, once again, that has to do with video. Few words about the HDBaseT Alliance. Since we eventually would like to see HDBaseT as the connectivity of choice, okay, going eventually everywhere, we had to come up with an alliance that will support that, will promote that, and make sure that this is a standard solution. A year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, we announced the HDBaseT Alliance. We formed the alliance, Valens, together with LG Electronics, Samsung Electronics, and Sony Pictures. So these are the 4 founders. They are also the 4 board members, and they are responsible for HDBaseT. Okay. A year ago, we released the first specification, Spec 1.0 of HDBaseT, and we were lucky. Unlike other specification that normally you get the spec out, then one of the companies is trying to design a solution, and then it takes you a year or 2. We did the other way around. When we announced the specification, we already have the silicon. Okay? So there is a 100% correlation between the specification and the product. As you can imagine, we designed the specification based on the chipset. Okay? So we were ready to go. So the industry was basically waiting, and immediately they got the chipset. In fact, some of them already got the chipset before the specification was released. Okay? So this is a standard solution. Okay? When you are using HDBaseT, and I'll provide more information on that, you are using a standard solution. It's not a proprietary solution anymore. It is a solution that is being supported by these 4 groups, and we have, at the moment, more than 30 members who are members of the Alliance, different membership levels, and it's growing up. So we have more and more companies joining, more and more companies selling product, designing products. So you have basically many options when it comes to using HDBaseT in your own installations. Okay, and I'll show you just a partial list of the customers in a second. Together with the specification, you normally need to have a compliance program, a certification program, to make sure that all the devices that are in the market can actually work and that they are fully comply with the spec. So 3 months ago, we announced the first certification program, and we are now in the process of qualifying HDBaseT product. One of the questions that I've been asked all the time from installers, system integrators, and others, how come we don't see the HDBaseT logo on product? How can we identify that it is a product is actually an HDBaseT product? So to answer that question, I would say that first of all, up to 2 months ago, there was no way to put the HDBaseT logo simply because there was no certification program in place. Now that we announced the certification program, we're encouraging manufacturers to submit their product to one of the certification lab, and then they get the logo. Geffen was the first one to get the logo. Transformative Engineering are the second one, and now we are in the process with all the other guys, and it takes time because now we have like a bunch of products who are waiting in line to be certified. So as we move on, you'll see more and more products in the market with the HDBaseT logo. Okay? Now, till then, there is a very easy way to tell whether a product is HDBaseT or not. Every vendor that claims to be able to do uncompressed video or high-definition video over 100 meters single LAN cable is using HDBaseT. By the way, some of them don't know that they are using HDBaseT. Okay? Because eventually HDBaseT is a chipset. Okay? Or the way you implement an HDBaseT product, you buy a chipset. Some of them are buying designs from ODMs in Taiwan and China, and they don't know what they are buying. They only know that it works well. Okay, so this is a kind of a process. We need to educate the market. We need to educate the vendors to motivate them to use the logo, and that's exactly what we are doing at the moment. And this is the logo. Okay? So you will see the logo on products. You will see the logo on press releases. We are promoting it as much as we can. So look for the logo. Okay? What can I assure you? That if you see a product carrying the logo, it works. Part of the certification process, and we are also responsible for the actual testing at the moment. because we'd like to make sure that the first product really works, is to verify that all the elements that the product claims to support, and as you can imagine, not necessarily all the products in the market will have all the 5-play. Okay? Some of them can come up with a product that only distribute HDMI, which is fine. It's still HDBaseT. Okay? And some of them can go all the way and have a product that support the 5-play, including the power. Okay? So when we do the testing, we do the testing in accordance to the paper that the manufacturers submit to us with the features that are actually being supported. But one important element for you, especially, is the way we're going to test the infrared and RS-232, because video, from our perspective, it's relatively easy. We know that everyone that design an HDBaseT product, the video is going to work. So if you're going to buy a product from Geffen and you'll connect it to a product from Crestron, in terms of interoperability, the two parts will interoperable. That's for sure when it comes to the video. The issue was, for instance, infrared, because everyone has its own version of infrared or RS-232. And what we have done, we forced the industry for the first time on a specific infrared and RS-232 implementation. Just to make sure that whenever you are taking an equipment from someone and trying to connect it to someone else's equipment, it's going to work, including the infrared. Okay? So it's not just the video. Video, controls, power, all the stuff is going to work. Okay? And it's not easy. We had to fight with some of the manufacturers because they don't like to be forced. But as an alliance, this is our job. And here are just a few examples of vendors that already sell HDBaseT stuff. Once again, most of them don't use the HDBaseT logo yet. You're probably familiar with most of them. The big guys are Crestron and AMX and Extron and Kramer and Geffen. We have Magenta, we have Tlona, and there are more, okay? So just go and ask for a solution that is based on HDBaseT, and all of them have more than one, okay? Now the solution are either basic extenders or matrices or switchers or very high-end stuff like Crestron and AMX are showing and selling. Just to make a point, all Crestron DM stuff, the digital media stuff, the DM, they call it 8G, whatever, is based on HDBaseT. AMX, new, Innova stuff, all the product line, HDBaseT. Extron announced more than 16 different products at Infocom. All the new stuff is HDBaseT. Okay. Okay, so what can you do with HDBaseT? The first market segment that I already described is the professional market or the Pro AV. Okay? Examples of matrices, extenders, AV receivers, display projectors, digital signage. These are just few examples of application that can enjoy HDBaseT. And there are already solutions that address most of them. And we are actually in the process of penetrating into other segments as well. So this is the first one. Second one that I would like to focus on is the digital signage. And I hope that it's quite obvious why they need HDBaseT. You're dealing with display, you're dealing with high definition, you're dealing with distance, where you need the way to distribute the video and also the controls. Okay? Power is probably at the moment not applicable for digital signage, mainly because most of the displays consume more than 100 watt. But as a trend, I don't know if you are aware of that, there is something called Energy Star. Okay? Energy Star is like a standard. The version that is going to be applicable as of next year limits the power consumption to 107 watt. So no matter what you do, how big the display that you are using is, if you like to get the Energy Star, you need to consume less than 107. Well, we are close, 100, right? And in 2013, it's going to be reduced to 85. And I can share with you that the target of the industry, or the target of the TV manufacturers, is that eventually they will reach a ratio of 1 watt per 1 inch. That's the target. Well, they're not too far away from that, okay? And I believe it's just a matter of time. So eventually with HDBaseT, you will be able to power, I would say, most of the displays in the market. 80–90% of the stuff will be able to be powered by HDBaseT, okay? I hope that one day we will also be able to power the projectors. That's a little bit far away, okay? But it's true for displays, it's true for PCs, it's true for game boxes, it's true for Blu-ray players, all this stuff. Now you can power either way. So it's a matter of how you decide to implement the product, okay? You can drive the power from the transmitter to the receiver or the other way around, okay? Next one is more related to the consumer electronic market or residential installation, in which you simply would like to find an easy way to connect your Blu-ray to your display where there is a requirement for distance. You cannot do it with HDMI, okay? Unless you invest heavily in very long HDMI cables and then you need to install that, you know that this is not an option. In our case, very easy. Next one is multi-room or multi-zone AV receiver. This is something that we are demonstrating in our booth. We have a booth, the HDBaseT Alliance booth at the show floor. I encourage you to pay us a visit. The number is 5145. We are showing exactly this use case where we have an AV receiver that has 2 HDBaseT outputs, and they are connected to a display and a projector, okay? This display is our single wire TV, which means that the AV receiver drives not just the video and the Ethernet connectivity and the controls to the display, but also it powers the display. This is a 42-inch display powered by the AV receiver. Just imagine how easy it is now to take the display and to install it. We just announced that we have a very impressive cooperation with Best Buy. I can tell you that the Geek Squad are crazy about that, because for the first time, when you go and install stuff like that, you don't need an electrician. You simply go and install it. That's it. It's very easy. Okay? And also, this is the case of the projector. In the case of the projector, we are not driving the power simply because the projector consumes more than 100 watt. And AV receivers like that, eventually, they can have more than just 2 ports, okay? It's unlimited. It's only a matter of implementation, okay? How many ports the manufacturers will decide to add, and they have the flexibility to decide whether a port drives the power or not, okay? So you can decide that some ports will drive power, some don't. Projectors, this is something that I already covered. This is once again a very important market segment for us. As you can imagine, it can make the life much, much easier. Just imagine that you have a projector with a single connector. That's it. You get the HDMI, you get the infrared, you get the RS-232, and you don't need to compromise on the video quality, which is very important. Okay? You get the maximum video quality. Two-box display is a concept that is being driven by some of the consumer electronic manufacturers. Actually, there are already some products in the market, not with HDBaseT, but the idea is basically to separate between the panel itself of the display and the electronics. Okay? Now, once you separate them, you need a way to connect them together. And in this case, the remote box can also be the one or the element that will drive the power to the panel. Okay? And all the rest is hopefully now easy to understand. This is another example of multi-room connectivity, okay, in which you have a set-top box, okay? And this set-top box will be connected to several displays. Now, HDBaseT supports two topologies. One of them is the star topology, which is basically what you have with standard Ethernet. You have a centralized switch, and each one of the source devices or the sink or the display devices are connected directly to that switch. This is a star topology, exactly what you have in Ethernet. Okay? Another topology is the daisy chain, in which you are able to daisy chain displays, okay, or any other device. So in this case, if you have two displays, you don't need to run two cables from the set-top box to the display. You can run one cable to the first display and another cable to the second one. Okay? Yes, please.
Can you take power from the one that's daisy chain and feed into the next one?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It's only an issue of implementation. Okay? If the manufacturer will decide that this is something that will be supported with this display, it's doable. Yes, please.
When you are daisy chaining, how many programs can be sent from the source to all of the devices? How many different ones?
Okay, so this is something that we refer to as multi-stream, which means the technology, this one, should be able to support multi-stream, assuming that you would like to show different content. So when it comes to multi-stream, and as a general comment, I would like to separate between the technology itself or the specification and the products that are already out there, okay? From the specification perspective, HDBaseT supports multi-stream, okay? Theoretically, you can do up to 4 or even 8 streams, separate streams. It's even more than that. It's not just the streams. Theoretically, you can say that you have like 4 HDBaseT links. Each one of them carries its own HDMI stuff, okay? When I'm saying HDMI, it also includes the CEC. It carries the EDI, all the stuff that you have with HDMI, and its own Ethernet channel and control channel, okay? So it's like taking 5 or 4 LAN cables, replacing it with a single cable, okay? So the technology supports that, okay? The products that are already in the market don't at the moment, okay? So this is part of the vision of HDBaseT, and we'll see it coming. But I just like you to understand that this is what we are trying to do, or this is the vision of HDBaseT. So a topology like that eventually will exist, okay? I would say, I'm not sure, by the way, that this is the right topology, the daisy chain is the right topology for residential installation, but for commercial installation, when you have a huge airport, this is what you probably would like to do. And if you would like to send the same content, this is already available, okay? So if you have a large-scale project in which you need to connect like 10, 20 displays to the same source, and you like to play the same content, this is something that you can do today. There are already products in the market. The first release that we issued with Best Buy 2 days ago was about Best Buy using HDBaseT for their in-store distribution. Okay? They are now in the process of not just selling and showing high-end TVs, but changing the technology from analog to digital, because they understood that it doesn't make sense to sell a high-end or the most advanced TVs and send the video over analog, and the quality is horrible. So once they decided that they would like to switch to digital, they evaluated few options, and they chose HDBaseT. Okay? So you'll see more and more HDBaseT stuff at Best Buy. Okay? And that's exactly what they are doing. They have like a centralized distribution system with multiple outputs, okay? And the same content goes to all the displays, or they can have several devices distributing different content to the displays, okay? Yes, please.
Will the Cat5 go, you have your sender unit, and will it go through a 24-port switch, and you find the other end of it, will it find that path?
This is a very good question, and thank you for raising that. HDBaseT is a proprietary, it's not an Ethernet technology, it's not a TCP/IP technology, which means that it cannot go through standard Ethernet equipment. It uses the infrastructure, I mean the cables, the connectors, the passive connectors, that's fine, but it cannot go through Ethernet routers or switches, okay? So it's, yeah, in a way, but in order, you had the perfect timing. In order to answer that specific need, because eventually when you target the residential market, you need to have a kind of a switching technology, because I said that eventually we would like the HDBaseT stuff to be everywhere. So how can you connect all your stuff together, okay? And in order to do that, you need an HDBaseT switch, okay? Now just imagine that you have an Ethernet router, cables that are connected to the routers are connected to the different stuff that you already have. The idea is to get rid of the Ethernet router, replace it with an HDBaseT switch, keep the existing installation in place, you don't need to change it. And suddenly, instead of just sending Ethernet, which is exactly what you do when you have an Ethernet router, you will send 5-play. So each cable will carry the video, the audio, the power, the controls, and the Ethernet. So once you connect your devices to the switch, all the devices automatically will gain access to Internet, simply because we send Ethernet over the cable. So it's enough that the switch is connected to the Ethernet, or even better, it's enough to have one device connected to a standard Ethernet in order for all the devices to be connected. Why? Because Ethernet goes over HDBaseT. Okay? Video. You can either drive video to the switch if you are connecting a Blu-ray player or a PC. Same time, you can send the video to each device or each display. The control, just to finish, the controls can be infrared, RS-232, USB, Wi-Fi. We don't care. We demonstrated the concept at CES. We basically showed this setup. The switch was controlled by a smartphone, where you had the pictures of all the devices. With a touch of a finger, you just connect the two devices together, and that's it. And the good stuff is that we are not trying to invent the industry, okay? There are so many initiatives in the market that try to come up with the perfect control scheme. DLNA is one of them. Now, all of them rides over Ethernet, which means this stuff works with DLNA without doing anything. Why? Because you have Ethernet. So if you have a device that is DLNA certified and it will have HDBaseT, you can manage that through DLNA or any control scheme that eventually the industry will decide that is the right one. Obviously, we will introduce our own basic API in order to enable some basic functionality. But you know, there are so many clever guys in the industry trying to invent something. Probably it's better that they will do the job. Okay, we'll make sure that the infrastructure supports that. Please.
So under this configuration, going through an HDBaseT switch, would any display have access to any device?
Yes, exactly. Now, this can be done either through DLNA, okay, and it's been done automatically, as if you are connecting the device directly to the other device. This can be done in a way through CEC, okay, although people doesn't like to use CEC, but we support that, okay? And this can be done also through the API of HDBaseT. So we provide few options, okay? Because this is like layer 2 or 3, I would say, okay? So we would like to provide the flexibility. So if you are used to use DLNA, you can use DLNA, okay? We don't care. We provide you the infrastructure, okay? We are like the cable, a very sophisticated cable, but that's what we are. One point that I didn't mention, and it's important, yesterday I was participating in one of the HDMI session, and the big issue that they have is the HDCP stuff, all the keys. And now the problem is that there are some set-top boxes in the market that are limited to one key, one HDCP key. And what happens is that if you connect the set-top box to a display through an extender or any device that do extraction, it cannot work because they cannot support repeaters. When you go and buy an HDBaseT extender, unless the manufacturer did something special, it's like a long cable. We are transparent, okay? We don't extract it. We don't change the keys. We don't remove the keys. Like a very long cable. It's very important for you to understand. And once again, it's HDCP approved. There are many products in the market claim to be HDCP certified, but they're actually not. They are doing a termination on the TX side, okay? They pretend to be a display to the source side. Actually, the content goes without HDCP, okay? And it might be an issue. In our case, we are transparent to HDMI and HDCP. So this is the vision. I can tell you personally, I'm waiting for a system like that to be available. And we are now in a stage in which we are finalizing Spec 2.0. Spec 2.0 of HDBaseT defines the switching concept. It's a very complicated issue. The specification should be available within this year. And I would like to believe that products like HDBaseT switch will be available a year and a half from now. Okay, so you can go and look for that. It's even better if you will ask for that. It probably will motivate the manufacturers to design it, but it will take some time. But I would like you to know at least where we are going. And this is how it's going to look like. Once you have that, eventually each room will have a very nice display, okay? The display can be also act as a control point because you will be able to control all your source devices that theoretically they can be in the basement through the display because we can send the infrared back, we can send the USB back, we have Ethernet, and you can also power the displays. Okay? And if we do it right, it should be plug and play. Okay? But you probably heard that from some other organizations in the past, so we'll do it right. Marketing, we are doing great. Okay, that's technical problem. That's the R&D guys. But we have a bunch of clever guys. So far, they did a good job. Another market that we are going after is the professional video cameras, telepresence, security cameras. Once again, they need video, they need distance, they can use the power, and you can understand why HDBaseT can help them. Another issue when it comes to cameras is that there is a trend today switching from analog to digital. Now, when you switch, one of the options is going and doing compression, TCP/IP. But most of the people who are dealing with cameras, install camera, are not IT guys. They used to take a camera to connect that and it works. This is how it used to work in the analog days. Well, HDBaseT is the same concept, okay? You don't need to deal with TCP/IP. You don't need to reconfigure. It's plug and play. It's like HDMI, okay, in that sense. But it works. Okay, few announcements. I already mentioned all of them. We announced the power of HDBaseT stuff. We announced that Best Buy is now using it for their in-store distribution. And we announced the seminar, but you probably already know that if you're here. So key takeaways, okay? HDBaseT eventually is a very cost-effective solution. From the system perspective, you will be able to use the lowest cost cables in the market, and it's very easy to install. I know that you like Cat5e cable. That's the reason why we designed it. It's very easy to install. If you know how to install a LAN cable, that's exactly what you do in the case of HDBaseT, the same cable. And it's reliable, highly reliable. That's what all the people who are using HDBaseT claim. Yesterday, we had a lady that told us that she had to install a projector, not even 100 meters. All she had to do is like 150 feet. And she tried like 7 different extenders. None of them work, okay? Many reasons. till she tried one of the HDBaseT stuff, okay? And it worked. That's it. She said, guys, it's actually working. And that's what we normally hear from people who are using HDBaseT. It works. That's the good news. Highest quality, you don't need to compromise, okay? Whatever the industry supports today, actually we are ready for more than actually exists today, because the throughput that we can handle is 10.2 gigabit per second. This is the maximum that HDMI 1.4 defines. The issue is that most of the stuff in the market does not support that yet, okay? But we are ready, okay? So from your perspective, you have enough throughput. You don't need to worry, okay? So whatever you can do by connecting a Blu-ray or set-top box directly to the TV, you will be able to do over HDBaseT. That's important to understand. And we already have the leading vendors in the Pro AV market selling HDBaseT stuff. Just go and buy. And we got the Rave Award for the best technology at Infocom. Okay. That's it. That's for my side. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Yes, please.
The ability to power display, is there any distance limitation on that? Or can you do it to the full 100 meters?
Yeah, we can do it we can go up to 100 meters. Now, the reason why we limit it to 100 watt is because I like to make sure that it works with the 100 meter cable. Okay? We are now working on a solution that might be able to do even 200 watt. Okay? Another reason why we limited it to 100 watt is because we would like the solution to be UL certified. Okay? So once you limit it to 100 watt, you can get that. The technology itself is capable of driving more than that. Okay? But when I'm saying 100 meter, it also includes power. Any other questions? Okay. The rest of the time, I would like Eli Ofek to show you some hands-on stuff, so you better understand how reliable it is and how you can test stuff if you are interested in that. Eli, please.
Thank you, Micha. Good morning. And I will focus on the available products rather than on the technology. And and of course, I invited you to come and pay us a visit in our booth, as well as in all other manufacturers that use our technology and selling product today. So what I have here with me is, of course, a monitor and a source device. This is a very special source device. I will elaborate about it a little bit later. And bunch of extenders and products that I'm going to demonstrate them right away. All of them are Valens products, means not commercial products, but reference design that we provide to the vendors and give them it only as a reference design, but we have to design it for let everyone to do the evaluation, etc. So I will begin with the first video extender, which is very small and nice stuff. This is a typical extender that you have, first of all, the HDBaseT connector, which is RJ45, that you can extend the range, of course, up to 100 meters. On the other side, we have the HDMI, and also infrared, either receiver or transmitter, because this is a set. So assume you would like to extend Blu-ray source that you need also to control it using an infrared, and you sit in front of your TV. So this will be in one location, and this will be on the TV side. So using the remote control of the Blu-ray, pointing it to the TV, will control the Blu-ray, for example, or any other source device that needs infrared. Okay. The most important element that I would like to emphasize that we are using a Cat5e cable, not just straight cable, but this is what we call a structured cable. Means we have a vertical cable that can go align the walls, inside the walls. We have a passive connector, sorry, and another patch cable which helps you to connect the last meter or last up to 5 meter. So typical case is we are talking about 100 meter, in which 90 meter goes inside walls up to 90 meters plus 2 times 5 meter on each side. It can be a little bit modified, maybe 98 and 1 meter. The specification defined up to a total of 100 meter. Practically, everyone can tell you that it can go longer. So very, very important that we can go along passive connectors, unlike everyone else. This is the fact that allows you to take an existing installation that you're using today for Ethernet, for example, and leverage on the infrastructure and now extend uncompressed video over the same cable. This is maybe not 100 meter, but we have tested it for, of course, for even more than that. Okay, so I have a receiver box on one side and transmitter box on the other side, and we have a source. This source, by the way, is come from a Quantum Data, a leading manufacturer of testing equipments. Specifically, this one is a testing tool for the HDMI. This can simulate several video patterns, as well as to measure or to make a cable test. Means you can measure the performance point to point or end to end. This is something that I will also demonstrate and show you. So there is one assumption or one claim, very clear. We are a bit exact on the HDMI level. So the sender or the source feel like a short HDMI cable, but practically you can leverage or benefit of up to 100 meter, and everything continue to works exactly as it's a short 5 meter cable or even shorter. Another important stuff is that the source device, I choose to plug the power supply to the source device, and the power now goes through the cable, and I don't have any connectors on the sync device. Okay? I can do a quick demo and just unplug the power and switch it to the other side. And very quickly you can see that we are agnostic, and actually the power direction is not really important. So if you come to if you would like to, or whatever is more convenient for you, you can either drive the power from the source to sync or from the sync to source. This is very, very important and useful for installers, that's for sure. Okay, so this is the first setup. Then I have another set of box that looks the same, but we have more functionality over here. So we have the HDBaseT connector, again, up to 100 meter. We have infrared receiver or transmitter. And by the way, this is up to the vendor to decide, because he can practically implement the two of them on both sides, receiver and transmitter of infrared. And then you can deal with the generic use case. So this is possible. Actually, we did it already. We have RS-232, we have power supply, we have HDMI, and we have here 2 additional Ethernet ports. So assume this is a connected TV. I can drive the video, the controls, and also Ethernet to the TV. So if you come if this is the use case, so you can have this box on behind or under the table or whatever, and connect the HDMI, the Ethernet, and even the infrared with the IR blaster. You can have it over here. And on the other side, it will be connected to the Ethernet switch. And this one supports Ethernet connectivity to the TV. It can be the other way around. If the switch is somewhere behind the TV, then you can drive the Ethernet to maybe to the source device, or to a laptop, or to whatever you're thinking of. Another reference design, which is not yet available, but we will probably see it quite soon. This is like a transmitter side of HDBaseT. So you have the HDMI connector on one hand and the RJ45 on the other hand. So if this is the Cat5 is goes through the walls. So let's say the last 1 or up to 2 meters can be connected to the source and to the wall, and then the HDBaseT go all the way to the sync device. By the way, this is Valens silicon, so it's pretty small. Also, this one sources the power from the other side, so you don't need any power supply. But again, this is not commercially not yet available. I expect it to be very soon in the market. Another maybe product that you maybe can look for today. This is an HDMI switch, a very small form factor. You have 4 inputs. Previously, there were 2 outputs. Okay.
Power still on.
Yeah, still power. Yeah.
Probably reminding you of times.
Okay. Okay, so anyway, this small switch also now has one output port with HDBaseT. So assume that you have multiple sources in the living room and you just want to drive one remote monitor, so you can do it very easily with such a switch. Last thing that I would like to show you, I would invite you to come over here, but it's not so important. As I mentioned, this is the testing tool come from Quantum Data, which also a member of HDBaseT Alliance. This can either inject video patterns to the TV for testing or also do the cable test. When I mean cable test, this is something that you can practically take everything as a long cable. So I just disconnected from the TV and connected now to the HDMI input, and all the 100-meter, let's say, with the connectors, with everything, is now I can do a cable test, which is a loop. I can inject or make this test and test it for whatever resolution I need. Yeah, cable repeater. And right now I'm doing the cable test on this specific setup to show that we are equivalent to an HDMI, to a short cable, although we have right now 2 patch cable and 1 vertical cable. Altogether is much more than the HDMI itself. And this one can check the pixel rate, the EDID, the HDCP, and everything, and gives you a kind of a report, how many errors, which usually it's like a 0. So 100% reliability. Yes, please.
Since you've now disconnected the cable from the monitor, the only cable supposedly connected to it, what's driving the image on the monitor now?
No, this is just the Samsung TV menus.
Signal.
There's no signal. It says his check signal cable. This is the menu come from the TV itself.
Right, but what's providing the power?
No, in this, okay, I'm sorry if it was not clear. In this setup, we do not drive the power. This is a relatively small TV. In our booth, we drive a bigger TV. So we don't have the setup of driving the power here with us. Any more questions?
What booth number?
5145.
Those, the two sets of Allens that you've used, those are at different manufacturers right now?
As I said, these were designed by Valens.
Right, no, I know that. I mean, are there products that are comparable to that through the HDBaseT at Lona or, you know?
Yeah, yes.
They're in
Production?
production?
Yeah,
right
of
now?
course. Yeah. It's like more or less like 1 year available in the market so far.
Okay.
And now more and more different implementation, more ports, less ports, with IR, without IR, all variety of configuration.
You can't tell us who has them?
Yeah, of course. Micha previously mentioned a list of companies.
No, it has the power on one side or the other for the HDMI Valen, or they don't have that?
None of them right now power up TVs, but they send the power from one side to the other side to power up the extender itself.
No, that's what I meant.
Yeah, but shortly you will see. Yeah, there is no such product that can power up the TV at the moment.
No, I'm just asking about powering the actual HDMI Valen, just one.
Yeah, that's many, already do. Okay, let me thank you again for coming today. I hope you enjoy, and please feel free to come and visit us in our booth.